So we have discussed type of materials, amorphous, semi-crystalline, and different type of materials. So again, the selection, if we go to the selection, it is still more difficult because there are a lot of raw materials, the lot of polymers are there, then a lot of compounds are there, in which we'll be adding additives to get some of the properties. So it's a huge basket of raw material from which we have to select the proper raw material for our product application. I have jotted down some of the raw material, which are commonly seen. These are the polymers, and many compounds, many grades are there inside these polymers also. So how to narrow down the selection? Okay, we will be going to the next slide, going on detail. So how? So what are the material you can decide by a product? There are multiple criteria on which we will be narrow downing our selection of raw material. First, we'll be taking the dimension point, dimension, geometric dimension, tolerance, shrinkage of the part. All these are connected aspects. When we are talking on dimension, the first thing that comes to our mind is the material. It is amorphous of semi-crystalline. We have been discussing amorphous material. No, the structure of amorphous material. It's like a randomly arranged when in cool condition, and when it is heated in the machine, still it will be a randomly arranged structure. So there will not be so much difference, in the molecular structure when it is heated and cooled. That's why it is having a better dimension stability. Whereas semi-crystalline, uh, normal condition, it will be in a bundle shape. Okay, we look through a microscope, and when we heat it, it expands like amorphous and go to a random arrangement. And when it is cooled, our intention is to take back to the bundle condition. So there is a physical expansion, contraction more happening in semi-crystalline. That's why dimension achievement and tolerance achievement little difficult in semi-crystalline. So first
Okay.
of all,
Okay. One more point. So, is there anything called as crystalline material?
yes,
Because I have seen amorphous and crystalline, not semi-crystalline. I mean, I have seen it, but I'm not sure. I'm just asking
yes,
whether there is another section called as
yes.
crystalline material.
Yeah, very good question. Actually, semi-crystalline, the thing is, it is a crystalline material, but as we know, completely we may not be able to make it complete crystalline. Crystalline means the structure is completely bundle. Semi-crystalline means in the bundle there will be some content of a spread out molecules inside. So to make it completely any material crystalline in the molding, it will be a little bit difficult thing. That's why it is known as semi-crystalline. It is a crystalline material, but inside the crystallinity, there will be some content, which is not crystalline. That is why it is known as semi-crystalline. Are you
Okay.
clear?
Okay. So, is there any material for crystalline? Also, there is some material. Is there? No,
See,
it is
all
only
the
semi-crystalline.
material what we are telling semi-crystalline is crystalline only.
Crystalline. Okay.
Yes.
Fine.
Our intention is to make it crystalline, but while doing the molding, cooling, and all, we may not be able to achieve it complete crystallinity. Complete crystallinity means complete stability for that material. We will
Okay.
not be able to make 100% crystalline. It is a theoretical thing. So we are calling it as semi-crystalline.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Second, and other than amorphous and semi-crystalline or crystalline, there will be some compound like filler. If it is a glass fill, mineral fill, filler also affect the dimension of the part. If in
Okay.
semi-crystalline materials, our dimension we are not able to achieve, if we are adding mineral fill, it will be much robust in terms of dimension.
Okay. So one more question. So you're telling that semi-crystalline is PP, PE, polypropylene, polyethylene material, HDPE material, right?
Yes.
So you can see is dimensional stability is not there. So when you are using it in a bumpers or a dashboards,
Yes.
the size is more. Okay. So how they will be achieving the dimensions for bigger parts?
See,
If that's the case.
bumpers and bigger parts are generally fit and function items. They are not tight tolerance like 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.1 or 0.5. They
What
are fit
what
and
would be the
function.
deviations?
See, each and every material has a capability to achieve the dimension, and it depends on the length of the part. So whenever we are designing the product, we should keep in mind that for 100 length, this material is capable of meeting this dimension. There is a chart for that. Okay, that we'll be discussing another session. It is a deep topic. It is there when we are going to a product design session. Okay, at PP 100 mm, what dimension? If it is a critical dimension, how much it can be meet? If it's a relaxed dimension, how much it can be meet? So our index need to give a better relaxation so that our process will be more capable. And instead of so much critically design the product. Fit and function is that the part will little flex and fit.
Okay.
That is how PP, all semi-crystalline material have a flexible property. It can be flexed. It will not induce any stress in the part. So we can design the part accordingly. But amorphous, we cannot stretch it heavily and fit and function cannot be done because amorphous get induced in molder inside stresses and the part will crack.
So you're telling that will be more brittle.
Yes.
Okay.
Stress should not be induced. It should not be compressed and kept, or it should not be expanded and kept. But crystalline can be done. Second one is environmental consideration. Environmental consideration, what is the heat resistance of the raw material? HDT we used to tell. Or continuous use temperature. How much temperature this material can be used continuously. It's not 5 minutes or 10 minutes. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, most of the material can take that heat. But if it is continuously used for 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years, continuously in that temperature, whether it can withstand, that is a continuous use temperature. Then what is the UV capability of that material? Suppose we have a bucket in our house. We are keeping the bucket inside our bathroom or wherever. Then that bucket stays for many years. But suppose we take it outside and keep it over the roof or outside in the sunlight, you can see 3 months, 2 months, crush it, it will crush like so much brittle, like a puppet, it will crash. This is due to the UV effect on the polymer. Due to that UV radiation, the molecular weight, molecules are getting disintegrated. Okay. So even if any product is staying inside the house, there is a certain amount of UV going to attack that because white light have some amount of UV. So external application very severe, but internal application also during morning time some amount of it. So that should be taken. That if the product has that requirement, that also should be taken care while selection. And the chemical, yes.
So what is the fillers they will be using for avoid this UV?
See, UV additives are there.
UV additives. Okay.
Yeah, everything has additive.
So whether it cannot be used in buckets for PP, or is there any particular restriction?
No restriction, but see, we have to see the cost also, no? Whether it is applicable for this product, we have to see. There are some raw materials which are very costly. Without adding any UV additive itself, it is UV resistant. Okay. It may cost $30, $35. We cannot use a $35 for a bucket. No? So UV additives are used.
Okay.
There are buckets which are staying outside, no? Our overhead tanks,
yeah.
We are giving a paying for that, no? So that's how. Then another is a chemical effect. Like if our product is going to in contact, or if we are carrying some chemical, petrol, maybe oil, maybe whatever chemical, based on that also that requirement selection has to be done. So suppose if you are using oil in Indian Oil or wherever oil tank is there, you can see bigger oil tank, or our kerosene, whatever we are carrying, can. So it can it is made up of P or PP made P, because it has a higher resistance. We have already discussed semi-crystalline has a better resistance. And if you use PC instead of that, okay, thinking it is a higher impact, it cracks. The moment it touches, after maybe after a few minutes, 5-10 minutes, the crack started propagating. If you are using oil or grease or petrol or something in polycarbonate or most of the amorphous materials. So that selection also very important. Okay, whether and then this whether this our raw material part is going to get in contact with water. Some of the material are very sensitive to water absorption. So whenever we are doing such, suppose example, we are using plastic in razor, Gillette razor, everybody has seen. In that razor blade, okay, those plastics are made of PPO. PPO means Noryl grade from SABIC is there. So in that is the polymer which absorbs least moisture. Most of the nylon absorbs 2 to 3%. Okay, and PC absorb up to 0.5%, but Noryl or PPO absorb only 0.1%, and it is amorphous also. Why amorphous is required for that application? Because it's blade. If it bends, it can cut and won't happen. It's a safety issue. So we cannot use a semi-crystalline or crystalline one, because it semi-crystalline by inherent has a property of getting warp. So blade cannot be fixed on that. Second, if it absorb water, nylon we cannot use because it absorbs a huge amount of water and dimension instability. So we are using Norel for that application. So these are some of the environmental conditions. Okay. And when we
So only Norile is there, no other material is available other than that?
many materials are there, but Norel has that what minimum water absorption property. If you are using for a lower quality or what I can say cost razor blade and all, you can go for ABS.
Okay, so we have done some of the molds in nylon. Okay, the drilling machines, you can see it, right? Hand drilling machines of Bosch.
Yes.
So those machines we have done. So in that case, there was two casings, left and right. So they have to assemble it. So in that case, what our molding person used to do is, after molding, all of a sudden they'll take that part and they will immerse in the water.
Yes.
In the water, and then after that they'll close it and then they'll put it in the oven. So what was the reason they used to do that?
See, the reason being putting in the water. See, we know, everybody knows that nylon is a semi-crystalline material and it has a tendency to warp. So even in the, after molding, post molding warpage happens. After it comes up the mold, it started bending. So to prevent that, quick cooling is the requirement of that time. So to cool it quickly, they are putting in the water so that suddenly do not collapse the dimension. It's stable. Get cooled quickly and get stable. So the dimension point is met. Second, and this your drilling machine is a mechanical product, or lot of load comes at impact load, the jerking load comes in that product. So if there is some stress induced due to that quick cooling, it can cause the failure of the product. So we had to relieve that stress induced due to the quick cooling in the water. So for to remove that stress, we'll keep the part. It is known as annealing. We'll the part inside the oven, okay, for a certain temperature, which is near below the heat distortion temperature of that material. Heat distortion temperature, the temperature at which the part or material start deforming. So we cannot go to that temperature. We will keep 15, 20 degree below the temperature for a prolonged time, half an hour, or based on the raw material it is that we can derive, and we'll keep it that so that the molecules get settled down. That stress inside the material will be relieved. That is the annealing process. So with that, the part will have a better performance.
Okay. What are the ways to avoid these warpages other than this what is called as part modifications? Other than that, what are the other ways other than cooling fixture also?
Warpage is a problem due to the
material properties.
Majorly due to material property and cooling difference. Okay, differential cooling is given. So we first of all we have to select the raw material. I already told, if you don't want warpage, you have to select a raw material which is amorphous. And in semi-crystalline itself, you have to use a filled one. Like mineral fill will reduce the warpage a lot.
Okay.
Or then you can in process gating, you can do in a gating, cooling lines in the mold, etc., etc. You have to do. And basically, major contribution is a design and a raw material selection.
So once the material is selected and we have done the tool, so we can't add any fillers, right? It's going to again affect the shrinkage of it, right? So other than adding fillers, so it is only about what is called cooling also is done. Okay, cool. Everything in part cooling is done. So what is the best we can do after molding?
See, after molding, these are some of the tricks you can put in the water. Then it will reduce the warpage you'll get. See, without doing anything, you cannot achieve also, no? So that is a fix, temporary fix or something people are doing. If it is an electrical part, suppose a lot of current is going through that, you cannot put it in the water. In that case, you have to take a permanent fix only. Selection has to be important. If you are doing everything wrong, you are telling, I want to get a part, there is no magic for that. So you have to see whether you can compromise some dimension, or there will be something to compromise on the product. Okay. So based on that, you have to take a call how to go for that. Definitely, when we are adding filled material and fill, there will be a shrinkage difference. Okay.
Okay.
So proper selection at the design time. You can do a CAE analysis, mode flow analysis instead of cutting the tool. So predictability will be better. That is how we have to do. Then it comes the mechanical property like impact, modular stiffness, lubrication. No impact means if you know in a bulletproof, for an example, we require a higher impact. That's why polycarbonate is used. Multi-layer polycarbonate is used.
In that it is used for only as an strips, right? They are going to what is called strips are woven into each other and they make as
Correct. Yes.
a bag, right?
Yes. Yes. Kind of
The multiple
lamination.
laminates. Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Lamination.
Yeah.
Yes. And then stiffness, lubrication. If we are we want a part in the product which is getting rubbed together. So it is we have to go for a semi-crystalline material because semi-crystalline material have a better surface to surface lubricative property. Okay. So majorly nylons or POM. POM is a very good material which have a lesser this contact to contact friction. Friction coefficient is less. Or there are materials in which we can make some of the compounds by adding some lubricating additive like PTFE we can add, or some lubricating additive can be added, and it can be done better lubricating property.
Okay, so for this gears, if you take for gear parts, we can use nylon and POM, right? Both materials. So most preferably they'll go with POM. So the reason for not avoiding and not going with nylon is because of water absorbent, right? The dimensional difference is going to take after a long time the dimension will differ. So that is the reason they are avoiding the nylon.
For gear, it may not be the reason because gear major friction reduction is the most important thing. So more than nylon, POM is the best, reducing the surface friction. That's why POM is in this. But dimension, achieving dimension in POM is little difficult because POM is highly crystalline material compared to nylon. So to make it so much crystalline, then only dimension stability will be there. POM shrinkage itself is a very, very big mystery. 2%, 3%, 2.5%, it varies a lot.
So you're talking about natural nylon, right? It is not about glass filled nylon, something like that.
Natural only. See, natural, if we put glass, there will be reduction. But whenever we talk about a polymer, basic polymer, first we have to freeze, no? Then over that, we have to think of what filler it can be. It's basically, initially we have to select on the polymer, then take to the next level.
Okay.
Okay. So instead of nylon glass fill, you cannot select a PC glass fill, no, for a chemical atmosphere. Understood? Like that, we have to select. Okay. And if suppose our chair, okay, caster wheel of a chair or chair, no, rotating chair we have seen, below that angles are made up of nylon. It is not made of PC because nylon can take a cyclic load. It's a crystalline metal and it can take cyclic load. Again, loading can be done. So selection is done in that manner. Okay, glass fill nylon. And then comes to electrical requirement. Electrical requirement, UL requirement. Underwriters laboratory, there is third party. It is a safety standard. At what UL stand for? Whenever a fire accident happens, okay, for an example, up to what time, within what time the fire will get extinguished. This is the UL V0, V2, V1, like that multiple grading has been done. So V0 is a higher standard. In that, whenever fire gets catch in a part, basically for electrical application, it quickly the fire get extinguished. How the fire get extinguished? Because inside the metal there will be some UV additive. Whenever temperature rises above a limit, that additive fumes started coming out of the material, and it covers the part with that fume. So it cuts the oxygen from the atmosphere, so that fire will get extinguished. This is how.
So what is that additive?
UL. That is a fire retardant additive.
Fire retardant. Okay.
Similar way, glow wire temperature is there. These are wherever live parts come up to if the wire gets heated up to what temperature it will affect the raw material. Okay. Then continuous CTA, coefficient of thermal expansion. If you are using a raw material, okay, you are telling it is used in suppose this is designed in 50 degree. If you are using in the same product in 100 degree, how much expansion? Every material expand, every product expand in the temperature. Even steel also expand. Up to what limit it expands with unit temperature. So based on that, we have to think of the design tolerance and design consideration, clearance, whatever. So what is the coefficient of thermal expansion? RTM means a continuous use temperature. We have discussed already. Some metal can use PP and all can be used to 50, 60 degree. ABS can be used up to 70, 75, 80 degree. Some of the ABS, some of the formulation can be used for 85 degree also. And PC can be used 110, 115 degree. Okay, continuous use. Like Ultam can be used in 180, 190 degree. Peak can be used in 230 degree. This is how we have to select based on the application. Okay, we cannot select quite higher specification for every part looking at the safety, because cost also matters. So all these things has to be considered. If it is a electric conduct EMI shielding application, electric conductivity has to be there as also can be considered in this case.
Okay, some of the points you mentioned, right? The GWT, GWIT, HAI, what are those things? CTI,
blower, high arc impact is there. Okay. Hot wire ignition. These are the electrical parameters which for an electrical product is concerned. All are related to temperature. So hot wire is contact.
Okay, you mentioned as EMI shielding, but material-wise, the shielding would be there, not the secondary operation on the material that it is
for
going
shielding.
to
For shielding, there are EMI. For shielding, we have to add additives like carbon fibers or carbon powders will be added. Sometimes stainless steel fiber will be added to get the EMI.
So natural metal is not going to give us any shielding.
Generally, everybody knows plastic raw metal polymers are poor conductor, non-conductor of electricity. So make it conductor. EMI is basically conduction. We are bringing some amount of conduction. We have to add something to that.
Okay. What is the additives will be added?
Carbon powder, carbon fibers, and stainless steel fibers. It depends. It's not. No, it's a big process. Only qualified raw metal experts can do that type of additive compounding to the raw material.
Okay.
Then comes the process. What type of injection molding process, whether it's a form, 2K, extrusion. So extrusion, some of the metal cannot be used. Like nylon cannot be, because it is so much what we can lower viscosity, flow like water. So extrusion is difficult. So we have to think of some raw metal which have a better viscosity, lower MFI. So based on that also we have to use. Blow molding, we cannot use a metal. It is very, very higher MFI, flow like a water, and like injection mold. So we have to use which is higher molecular weight, low flow. Okay, thick materials, viscous materials, thermoforming. So hot runner, cold. Some of the material cannot be used in a hot runner because it get clogged up very easily. Like if you are putting PPS and glass, again it's difficult. So hot runner selection also very vital. Peak, if you are using peak or filled peak with a hot runner, then we have to do a proper selection of hot runner, not in a common what we are using PP. So all these things also a little bit that also we have to take care. And there is a small point. We added just there are a lot of other properties. Some are like acoustic, but whether it will reduce the noise. Some cases it may be required. Okay, very rare cases. If you keep say used as an insulation surface, some raw material transfers the noise higher, some will lesser.
So we had this requirement because our machine used to make noise when it is rotating, and so we thought of avoiding it. So
then we have to cover it with some polymer. Okay, if you cover is normal some formed polymer, it avoids. If you still want higher, then you have to go for some another specialty polymer forms which have lower noise conduction. Okay. It's like that. And next one is regulatory requirement. One could be like FDA, food regulation. If the product or part is getting in contact with the food, there is a chance for leaching of the additives or whatever added to the polymer getting into the food. So for that FDA regulation, in that FDA regulation, there are a lot of substance additives that cannot be added to the raw material manufacturing, which can lead to the food and cause damage to the people of safety. So FDA calls for that. Then there are water regulations. Toys also, there are because kids may choke it. So toys also some of the regulation. Medical regulations are there. Like there are some regulation like flame retardant, okay, like ULVs, there are ROHS restriction on hazardous substance. There are some substances which cannot be added whenever we are exporting the metal. Europe or Western countries, they ask for ROHS regulation. Okay. Biocompatibility, I was telling, medical, some, if we are to see whether product is going inside the body, okay, it is transformed inside the body, then regulation are very, very stringent. If it is just used for transforming the blood or some fluid or medicine, then the regulation changes. So we have to see that also. Then comes aesthetics. Already we discussed, if you can higher opacity, if suppose we are using for a glass, obviously amorphous metal come to picture. Amorphous material very good for coloring, gloss, and all. And automotive and inside we can see texturing, semi-crystalline very good. That's why inside the automotive car and all, where texture surface are there, we can see PP, very good texturing. Okay, then we have to see what is the flow characteristics. As based on aesthetics, some of the material, if we have some filler, it will show a flow mark. If in polycarbonate we are putting glass, and we are only, we can see some amount of glass mark, nylons also. So based on aesthetic also, we have to narrow down the selection. Some scratch resistance, some material are prone to scratch, some are not. Some to avoid a scratch, we are doing texturing in the briefcase, automotive, Indian. We are doing because plastic by its property itself is scratch will come. To avoid that, we have to do some like texturing. If in the headlamp of a car, it has to be made in polycarbonate because it has a higher impact strength. We cannot make it, and it has a very good see-through and clarity and light transmission. But when the car is moving in a higher speed, whatever is small dust also hitting the headlamp can make the scratches on that area. So to avoid that, secondary operation, hard coating, like silica
Hard coating.
Hard coating. So hard coating, that coating will so much hard, it will not allow the particles to touch the plastic. So thin layer of hard coating, UV cut hard coating will be done. Suppose whenever sometime we have seen in a car, if one headlight has broken or something, we replace it in the second market. And after 6 months or something, we can see when replaced, at that time both look same. You can see one headlight is yellowish color. Have you noticed? Sometime why it is so? Because the second what we have kept may not have it looks same without hard coating only. It may not have the hard coating. That is not only a hard coating, it's a UV resistant coating also. So without that, part looks the same initially, but after some time in the environment impact on service, it pales off, yellowish color comes. And
Okay.
next is a secondary operation like welding. Okay, welding can be anything, ultrasonic, vibration, laser welding, and gluing. When we are gluing two parts together, we have to see the chemical compatibility of raw material to that glue. Many of the amorphous material may not be compatible with some of the glues. So selection is to be properly done. All the glues, some glues attack the polymer matrix and destroy the polymer. And painting, if we have to go for a painting, most of the amorphous material are good for painting, because painting initially it's a chemical attack. To paint to stick to the surface of the part, some amount of chemical attack has to be done. If no reaction is happening, paint will get just peeled off. So amorphous, ABS, BC and all, better, easy to paint. But whenever we are doing, but bumper is painted. So lot of operation, pre-painting operation has to be done to make it paintable in case of crystalline material. Then powder coating, metallizing. Metallizing generally, if you want to go for a metal, ABS is being used. ABS by inheritance, it has a property of getting metallized. We can see, metallic parts, where normally will be ABS. But there are some grade of ABS, okay, like electroplated plating capable grade, which give a higher service, year of service or better performance. So from the automotive people and electrical people, whenever they are taking specific metallized grades. It gives a better result, not a result, a period or lengthier lifetime for a metallized part. So those type of grades are available. Then electroplating is like, instead of doing EMI completely making the part conductive, instead we have to make some area conductive, like internal part of some fire alarm or something. So what material will be electroplated. So for electroplating, that process itself, it takes some more temperature, 150 degree or something. So raw material should be capable of that withstanding that temperature to make that electroplate. It's a physical vapor deposition process. Some temperature will be there. So electroplating will be done like that. That application.
Okay. Okay. In earlier one of your videos, you told that 0.4, 0.5 mm material can be filled. You can see the phone enclosure backside covers, plastic covers. So it is the wall thickness was 0.4 and 0.5. Okay. So when we were studying the minimum criteria for filling a material, wall thickness should be 1 mm or 0.8 worst case condition.
Okay.
Nowadays it has been improved to 0.4, 0.5.
Yes.
So what is the process is there to fill such small area? So what are the changes? What is the advancement which has happened in that?
Yeah. So day by day, a lot of new raw material copolymers are coming. It is known as a copolymer technology. Normal polymer, base polymer cannot fill below it. So there are a lot of development. They are breaking the backbone of the monomer and adding some another monomer. In a polymer, the same monomer repeats. But in a copolymer, suppose three same monomer repeat, then another monomer comes into picture. It gives a add-on advantage or flow which we cannot assume of. Thick mold, thin molding, everything can be possible doing that copolymerization technology. So that technology is behind this. So with that only reduction of the thickness, flowing without flow increase without reducing the property of the material. That is what results. If you reduce the thickness and the part breaks, there is no use. So the same in the impact strength with a higher flow. Whenever flow increases, impact strength will reduce. But without compromising that, that is known as copolymerization technology. So a lot of raw materials are there in that portfolio. Costly, they are very costly material. Okay, this is how it is being done.
So there will be no changes in the tool structure.
See, tool structure,
mold structure, nothing changes would be there.
Whenever you are molding a thin part, obviously we know mold has to be kept in proper temperature. So mold structure there will not be any change. So gate dimension and all has to be designed based on that raw material. That's all. Generic structure will not change.
Okay.
Our design culture has to be taken for that also, like any other raw material. The more the critical, we have to know better design the tool, because we are using costly raw material. Rejection, if we go over, we get a higher rejection, we cannot afford that high quantities. So we have to think holistically everything. Okay, we cannot take a normal PP mold which run in 50-second time cycle time to a 10-second of mobile 5-second mobile phone cover. It has to be robust in that way.
So what is that material?
Those are copolymers. There are PC copolymers are there. There are nylon copolymers are there. PPA is there. Polyethylamide are there.
Okay.
Huge basket is there.
Okay.
And one more thing could be we already discussed multiple times in financial. What is the cost expectation? For example, for a household bucket, we have to go for a raw material which is 80-90 rupees a kg. We cannot go for a material which is $35 to get all the property. So what is our appeal? What is the cost which customer can pay? What is it cost? Based on that also, everything. See, we have to put all this consideration and provide an optimum solution. That is what.
One more point. What could be the price difference for regular and the copolymer material?
It depends. See, price is not just due to the property. It is a demand, supply or manufacturing demand also. We cannot tell it is. It will be drastic difference. It will not be 2 times. Sometimes it will be 10 times, 20 times. Some could be 5 times also. Copolymer or higher grade specialty materials are given at a cost of their value. It's a value-driven costing. It's not a 1-to-1 kg costing, steel to steel costing, similar. Not like that. It is purely based on value. What is the demand? What is the supply? What is the city? Everything put together, it will be highly costly. Not 2 times or 3 times. Some will be 10 times. It's a value pricing. Basically, it's a value pricing. Nobody go for a per kg commodity pricing. The commodity grades are like commodity pricing. Every day it fluctuates. Like whatever crude fluctuates every day. Based on that, this material commodity grade also fluctuates. But specialty engineering grades doesn't fluctuate so much because it costs higher, because volumes are maybe lesser. So I show you some few examples. No, one could be like chemical resistance. We already described. So for a chemical better perform crystalline metal are used generally. And second is a dimensional. Okay, shrinkage, warpage, tolerance, and all flatness, roundness. So amorphous material are best. If not, we have to use semi-crystalline considering the operation or service of that product. Then we have to go for some milled glass fiber, pillars. No, all these pillars can help to reduce that. Okay. Then temperature performance already discussed, like what is a continuous use temperature. These are the few examples, to select. Some example for continuous use temperature. Okay. ABS, generally ABS and all can be used in 50 to 70 degree. There are some error also in this. PA and all, not PE, this is PA, polyamide form and all 90 degree, PPO 100 degree, okay, PC 115 degree, PBT 120 degree. This is an error actually. PEI ultim 170 degree. You can see peak 250, 230, 250 degree. So PFA, polyphenolic acid, can be 260. It is like that. There are grades. So we had to select, okay, my application require over 250 degree. And you have to narrow down to peak. That's how we have to select. This, there are a lot of errors are there. I copy pasted without looking.
Okay.
But this is how, this is the logic behind that. Okay.